Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Victory Village. You're the people in my village, and this is Trailblazing TV, where what we're doing is we're trailblazing how you think about your brain and business. And my heart, my hope, my intention here is to help bring some perspective, wisdom, knowledge, and resources to you that'll empower you to reach the goals that you're looking to achieve in your life and in your business. Muruguri, welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today? I'll give you a moment to give a thumbs up and say hello. It's always a joy to have you here. So while we're waiting for a few other people to come in, I'm going to preface just a little bit. I'll give you a quick weather update just for the moment here in Southern California. Started out kind of dark and gloomy, but the sun is coming out. A lot of prayers going out to the people on the East Coast. I hope you're all doing well. And for those of you that are overseas, I am thrilled to have you here, and I hope that you are always safe and prosperous. So today I'm going to segue into a couple of things that I'd like to add to Trailblazing TV. So here's a little known tip about me, or a little known tidbit, I should say. So most people, when they see me, come to sometimes have an interesting perspective that I'm an extrovert. It becomes known pretty quick that I'm very comfortable talking. I've been talking. I was the kid that got in trouble all the time in school for talking, and I would say third grade was my hardest year because they actually took my desk and stuck it right up to the teacher's desk to try to keep me away from talking to everybody. It didn't work, by the way. And you know, it's kind of funny. I've actually seen on Facebook and online that you can get these little T-shirts for people now that, you know, reference for the little kids who talk like I do. That it doesn't matter for those of us who love to speak. You know, that's what we're born to do, right? So talking on one hand is a great way. I love words. I'm definitely, for those of you who have ever read the 5 languages, the love languages, I'm definitely a words person. And so with that, it's kind of interesting because I grew up in a household, although I have a family unit that has stayed together. You know, we had some different family values that came about, and I grew up in a time and a place where children were spoken. Children were to speak, only one spoken to. So what does that mean? That means that you mind your P's and Q's, you don't talk a lot. I'd learned a lot about the art of observation growing up. And what I also discovered very young is that I love to read. I love to read. I love to write. Hi, Marlon. Welcome back. I love to read. I love to write. And so here's one of the little tidbits that sometimes seems ironic at first when you see that my speaking is comfortable, and I seem to many times always be talking. Hi, John. So when I think I was in about fifth grade, my school that I went to, we had a nice library, and I always had to pass by the library from one end of the school to the other. And when we were in grade school, there was, I don't recall if it was every year, but I do remember around the 5th, 6th grade time that we had to go to the library frequently. And so I just discovered and really became comfortable in the library, and I loved it so much that I actually became a librarian's assistant. So yes, I worked, this is the little tidbit, I actually worked in the library at school for a couple of years. So where it's all quiet and you're not supposed to talk, that was okay. I loved being around all the books. I loved organizing all the books and reading books, and so books have been a part of my life. So it's not a coincidence that I went from just reading books to now writing books. But why I'm opening this up is I want to share with you what we're going to talk about today. Is today's topic is I'm going to lead us into a subject matter called the truth. It's actually called the traditions of truth. And so this is a pickup of what I spoke about on Tuesday, which has to do with the perseverance of principles. But before I dig into those elements of what I want to bring with you, I want to share with you a book that was very pivotal. It was a pivotal influencing book in my personal development. So to kind of set the stage, I became very highly aware of my connection to the world around me when I was about, I can remember at about 10, 11, 12. So around 10, 11, 12, I really started to become aware of my surroundings. I was also very aware that I didn't like certain things that were going on in my life. I didn't like certain things about who I was, circumstances that would seem to happen again and again. And somewhere, I think if I did my math right, I was probably at a time when I was working in the library. I grew up in a very rural area. I was born in a big city, but most of my upbringing was rural. And so, good morning, Sean. So why this is even relative is that where I grew up, we did not have a lot of radio. We did not have a lot of television. Hey, Pete, welcome on board. So a lot of my input, the input of what I was thinking came from what I learned at school. I was around peers. I was always at my parents' business. So there's a lot of input in my parents' business, and television was very limited. We might have gotten 3 channels of TV on a good day. So I don't recall one element that stuck in my thought process for years because the uniqueness of my exposure. But somewhere along the way, around that same age, somebody somewhere said that we had the ability to change our thinking. We could control our brain and we can control our thinking. And they started to talk about little tidbits of, like, one example was, if you're late, if you're always late to a meeting, set your watch about 15, 20, 25 minutes or so fast, and then tell your brain to forget that you said it fast. And so that actually was the very first activity, the very first action that I took growing up that opened up my deep intrigue and fascination with the power of the brain and the power of our thinking. And if my mother watches this, she'll remember. She may remember parts of it. I've told this story enough. And she was on the other end. And so that activity of setting your watch fast, I was heavily inspired by Mother to do that, because I had this other belief system as I got older and I was driving and I needed to show up to work. I had a fast car. Where I had to drive to work wasn't that far away, and I have a personality where I know I can do a lot in a short amount of time. So let's just say that I had a tendency for a while to show up 10, 15 minutes to late to work a lot when I was younger. And when my mother comes involved, she's the one that cut the paychecks, and she's the one that I kind of got tired of her reprimanding me and reminding me that I'm the leader, I'm setting the example, you have to be here on time. And so I recalled that tidbit about set your watch fast. And I just decided to do it. And that was great. I did it, didn't tell anybody about it. I still bug the patootie out of my husband and my kids because I have a couple of clocks that I use. They're my alarm clocks, and they are both still set about 20 to 25 minutes fast. And I don't tell anybody about it. I just know that it's a good system that works for me. So if you're ever in a one-to-one face-to-face meeting, and if I have a non-digital watch on and you see the time, don't freak out, because it's going to be about 22 minutes fast. Okay, so why is that relative to the book I'm going to show you? So I'm sharing with you a little bit of my journey into the aspect of personal development, because personal development in this particular case ties into a precept that I teach, which is lead yourself. So in the world of leadership and the leadership work I do, a mantra that I came up with based upon reality, living into this, is lead yourself, because you have to lead yourself first. Then you lead others, and then eventually you can rise into the position where you will be leading leaders. And so there was the time of Deborah before I was 24, and then the time after I'm 24. Hi, Kate, welcome aboard. The time before 24, if you look at, if I ever fully reveal my life before 24 years old, it was drastically different than my life has become since I turned 24. And that's because there was the life that I led based upon how a lot of American culture is taught. And I got to tell you, it was not fun at all. I had great moments. I had some amazing situations, but the core of that time was very tumultuous, and it wasn't I was not a happy person. I decided, though, that my quest, because I had these big visions and these big dreams, and I always felt compelled that I had a purpose, that I worked through the hard times and the darkness to get myself to where I am today. And so tying some pieces together here, the library, my love of books, the desire for improving my life, the intrigue with the brain. There was a point when I was in my early 20s, I had a very difficult relationship with somebody. In fact, it was probably the worst relationship I ever had with another individual. But out of it came a book. And I laugh about the book. This is the book, and it's not in good shape because it's been well used. So I'm going to share this with you. I'm not even sure if this book, I think you can still get it. I have peeked on Amazon. I think there's still a couple of prints of this. But this is a great book to read for your own self, but it's also a great book to share with other people that might be interested in doing some self-development. I want to quick say hello. Hi, Robert. Hi, Beverly. Hi, Mary. Thank you. So Dennis Waitley was quite a name. He was a household name back in the mid to late 80s. And this book, The Psychology of Winning, has in it 10 qualities of the total winner. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Dr. Dennis Waitley, he was also, he was just quite an influencer. And you'll see my books, you can tell my books, they end up not looking really pretty. I'll show, because I write in them and I use them and I dog ear them. So, you know, I love my books, but I also, more importantly, love to assimilate the information in these books. Because I have to smell this one too. So why is this book instrumental, and why did I want to share this with you today? So there are some really key segments that I took away at probably the darkest time in my life. And what is interesting about this, you know, Dr. Waitley is talking about the mindset. What's the mindset of winning? The psychology of winning, right? It's aptly named. So one of the lines here, and I'm just opening these up, there's something in particular I'm going to look for, but you know, it says in here, winners, quote unquote, make it happen. There is an analogy. Let me just read for a second. Winners make it happen. Losers let it happen. The true meaning of self-control is often misunderstood. Many people interpret self-control as getting a good grip on yourself or remaining cool and passive under pressure. Self-control, as it relates to the psychology of winning, is synonymous with self-determination. Winners take full responsibility for determining their actions in their own lives. They believe in cause and effect, and they have the philosophy that life is a do-it-yourself program. I'm going to skip ahead. So I just read these couple paragraphs here. I'm going to skip ahead to down here. He also goes on to say, let me see if I want to read more. Let me go ahead and read, and then I'm going to wrap up here because I want to segue. So he goes on to say, self-control, this is his perspective. Self-control implies freedom for individuals who choose among many alternatives to shape their own destinies. Many people believe that fate, luck, or possibly their astrological sign have shaped the outcomes of their lives. These people who feel that life is mostly determined by circumstances, predestination, or being at the right place at the right time are more likely to give in to doubt and fear. Now that's kind of interesting. This is the next part that I highlighted and I put a star. People who are aware that they exert control over what happens to them in life are happier and are able to choose more appropriate responses to whatever occurs. So that's all I'm going to read for today. I just read from here to here. And what's interesting about this, actually there's one more phrase that I want to find in here. Remember, I underlined it a lot, and I have not looked at this book in a long time. I integrated a lot of it into my life starting in my early 20s, and it's become very important. And so anyways, I'm not going to take my time because I want to segue. So one of the principles he teaches is that winners are people that what they think, what they say, how they act, and what they do are all in alignment and one accord. And so number one, I encourage you, get a copy of the book. It's a great read if you're looking to upgrade, you know, some other aspects of your life. Hi, Lisa, welcome on board. Another aspect is it's a great gift. If you have a person in your life that's been struggling you know, maybe they're in a space where they're wanting to develop and they're wanting to make changes in their life. That's a great gift, especially if you've read it too. If you read it and you give a, you know, you gift it forward, now you have something that you can dialogue about. So I will let you say, I will share with you, if you go to Amazon, I'm not an affiliate. I'm not connected in any way with this book. It's just one of my favorite books, and it was very influential. So let me see a thumbs up here. I'm just curious, have any of you read this book before? Like, I'm just curious to find out if anybody else that's online here today, if this has been part of your upbringing, or is this your first time of hearing of this particular book? Okay, cool. I'm seeing some thumbs up, some thumbs up. So with that, and I love to read, so if you have other books that you have that are your fan favorites, I encourage you in the comments, share with us below. Part of my goal of Victory Village is to, and I've been telling this for a long time now, Victory Village and Trailblazing TV is to bring in new perspectives that help empower you. But also, thanks, Kate. Nice to see you. So Kate says she hasn't read it, but she thinks she should. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great book. So in this, that's why I ask. I would love your contributions to learn about what's important to you, what has resonated. Tally, thank you so much, Tally. We have a lot to catch up on. I'm looking forward to talking. So with that, my friends, let's segue in, because there is a tie-in here with sharing with you a little bit about the psychology of winning. And I want to move into the correlation of what I was inspired to talk about on Tuesday, which I'm going to be continually digging into a little bit deeper. And so through some prayer and some inspiration, and on Tuesday afternoon, I'm not sure exactly who I was speaking to, but I will tell you that I was definitely moved intuitively to share a message, which had to do about preservation of principles. So just a quick recap for those of you that may not have been here with us on Tuesday. Principles, by the definition in the dictionary, there's about 5 or 6 different definitions that align with principles. But the one in particular that I'm talking about right now has to do with our own personal moral code of conduct, our own conduct. So what I felt compelled to talk about today has to do with the tradition of truth. So again, let me say that I am not here to engage in a philosophical debate. I'm not looking to debate at all. I'm just sharing a perspective. And this is a perspective that I see it's a perspective that I have based upon observation of the conditions that we're all involved in. And so the tradition of truth, as it aligns to principles, Principles. Yes, I was a spelling bee person too. Principles of our own personal moral conduct. The element of truth that I want to dig really deep into has to do with the truth of our word. And I mean our word here, and our word here, and our word here. So give me a thumbs up if you are all gonna, as I go into this analogy, I want to make sure that I'm sharing correctly. So with Dr. Waitley talking about the psychology of winning is when our words, our actions, our thoughts, and our emotions, everything is all of one accord. What I see observationally, and I think you see it too, you probably deal with it. It may be a frustration for you too, or you might be part of this, is when we use our words today, but our words today, in many cases, and I'm going to make an assumption that this is not you, but many people today are very flippant. They're very casual with their words, and that causes conflict. Hi, Stacy. Thank you for joining us. So using our words and saying things that are without substance. And so what am I talking about? And there's a correlation here, because in trailblazing, how we think about our brain in business and leading ourselves first, this is the reflection of the mirror, right? We have to look in the mirror first, because if you are Everything you do, everything you say, everywhere you go, you are leaving an impression. You're leading your life. And whether you are aware of it or not, other people are observing you. They observe what you say, what you do, how you act, what you're thinking. Do you say one thing and follow through? And is there integrity in those words? Are you dependable? Do you say something and then follow through? Are you dependable? Do you say something and blow it off and it's not of substance? So I'm seeing, especially in the current young generation, and I do think that this is a generational issue, although it is a human, there's always been elements of human behavior where people will say one thing and not follow through. They just say loose words, right? But there seems to be, in my opinion, a breakdown in the moral code or our social conditioning, that to be flippant and casual with your words and have not even a recollection of what was just said 3 seconds before causes problems. And so how does this show up? I know as a parent, I deal with this with my child, especially my young one. You know, he's the youngest, he's in this new current generation, and wow, things that he will commit to or give me his word to do, and 3 seconds later, he's totally forgotten the commitment he just made. That causes conflict, right? Stacy agrees with this, right? So as parents, we're dealing with this with our children. Or those of you here, you might be grandparents already, and you may see this showing up. Again, it's a cultural. This is Deborah. Okay, Deborah's on a soapbox. This is my observational opinion, right? But what I'm getting at here is that there seems to be a higher prevalence. Is that the right word? A higher quantity of people that are so casual with their words. Now let's take this up a generation. And let's say the young millennials, those who've graduated school, they're in the working world. And you know what? They're highly inspired. Some of these millennials have unbelievable, innovative ideas about how to approach business. Yes, they're also being innovative in how to approach life. And those of us who are a little more seasoned in the chronological scale, we may not completely understand or agree. But you know, one thing millennials, and I'm not just talking about the recent grads, I'm talking about, say in the last couple of, the last 10, 20 years. Kate says it's showing up everywhere. Yes. Hi, Chris. Welcome, welcome. So this whole element, though, of our lack of substance behind our words, lack of commitment behind our words, the truth of our word, people are not honoring their words. Where if you go back into, the generation that I grew up, trust me, my mother and father, and it was very impressed upon us that you speak the truth. You speak the truth in love, and you speak the truth, right? You talk respectfully. You speak to your elders with respect. You speak to your peers with respect. You speak to yourself with respect, right? And I don't see this going on. And this causes conflict. It causes there's a moral conflict that people are not always aware of it, because it's a conflict from subconscious to conscious. There's a conflict about self-preservation. And what I see is people, we've talked about this before, that people are living in a state of disconnect. There's who they are and who they want to be, but they're living in a state of disconnect. And when you are living in this state of, if you are not living in truth, you do not have truth in your words, there's a ripple effect that starts with you. What's really interesting, learning about, how the brain works and learning how to program our brain, our words, as I'm literally speaking my words out loud to you, my brain is processing a thought. I'm thinking about what I'm saying. And for those of you who know me, I'm intentional with my words. I'm careful with my words. This has come out of years of self-study and self-improvement, because I do take my words seriously. If I make a commitment to you, it's because I'm making a commitment to you. So with that, though, the way that the human brain works, and why I think this is it's a passion point for me, is that when you're speaking your words, it first starts in creative thought. There are people that say they're not creative, but you are creative because you can craft a sentence. Stacy shares, respect for others regardless of age, seems to be lost in the current generation. Oh, yes, yes, yes. And I'm not going on that soapbox today. So I want to finish wrapping up right here. So the way that our brain processes, and I'm turning on, if this is new for you, you'll become aware of this. Hello, Fulvio, nice to see you here. You will become aware, your reticular activating system, which is a filter that sits right here, is you may start to be more hyper aware to this for yourself and others. So when you are speaking your words, you are actually being creative. For those of you who say you're not creative, you are, because you can construct a sentence of words, and that is creative thought. So your brain is filtering to choose the words. It filters the words and it comes out of the mouth. So now when you are audibly, right, when you are speaking the words, what is happening is your ears are picking back up what you've just said, and you are re-impressing into your own conscious and subconscious the very words that you uttered. There's a vibrational change that takes place in this process, from thought to speech to hearing and back into our subconscious. There's another element that is involved too with how the brain processes, which it's that same channel, except now when you start to write, it turns on a different part of the brain. There's a different mechanism that's turned on. So we may not be speaking the words, but we are visually seeing the words on paper. And so our word choices matter. When you are crafting an email into, let's say, you're responding to a client or a friend, the words that you're choosing, right? We know best practice in emails, especially if you've got a heated situation, if you're going to brain dump, send it to yourself or quick delete, get those words out, and then come back and craft a better, more respectful email, right? But what I'm talking about right now is how the brain processes. It has to do with the importance of your words when you're writing or typing and your brain sees. You're thinking, you're choosing your words, you're crafting the sentence, and you're doing a different activity of expression from your fingertips that your eyes see. You may be actually speaking this back again. Like if you'd ever talk out loud while you're writing, now your brain is picking up again, or you're maybe doing self-talk as you're writing. So your brain internally is hearing, and it goes back into your subconscious. So when I talk about this aspect of our words being of truth and your words matter, I am very genuine. I'm sharing with you some information relative to the fact of how your brain is picking back up. And so with this, the truth in your words is not just the impact of your words, is not just you honoring the word you say to somebody else. The power of your words start with your choices and how you're exhibiting your words. And I'm going to encourage you, because I want to wrap up. I always want to honor my word and keep us until about 10:30. So I thank you for hanging with me for a couple of minutes. So what I want to leave you here this morning, and I'm going to pick up and dig a little deeper into this again this afternoon, when it comes to the truth in your word, I encourage you for today, pay attention, like pay conscious attention to your word choices. Pay conscious attention to the commitments that you're making. If you're speaking to somebody and they ask you to do something and you say yes, are you actually listening to what you say? Are you intentionally agreeing to it? And are you being integral? Do you have integrity when you're saying yes? Or if you have to say no, are you saying no with integrity? So pay attention. I encourage you to let's practice leading yourself in thought, leading yourself with awareness of the words that you're choosing, because my friend, you have the power by leading yourself. First of all, what you get to do is you're clearing a pathway. You're going to start to change the, how do I explain this? You change your surroundings, right? You can start to get rid of the drama and the distractions and the negative people in your life, or you can start to remove the negative situations by paying more attention to the words that you are saying. And when you get to the place where you have the psychology of winning, you are leading yourself first, through your word choices, you start to then create the space that causes a ripple effect, and you get to lead others, and you'll get to lead leaders. And there's this whole ebb and flow, but it starts with you having a choice first to honor your word and be truthful in mind, thought, heart, effort, and energy. So with that, my friend, I thank you so much for being here with me this morning. Tune back in. Remember, subscribe, I believe, on my Facebook page, which is Thrive Right Consulting. I believe that there's a way to subscribe to pay attention to when my posts are going live. If you'd like to watch on YouTube, you can find me on YouTube as well. It's under Deborah Sweet. And I will be renaming that channel, but you can please subscribe to YouTube because my replays are posted there. And I would love to have you, make sure you keep in touch, share with me. And with that, remember, live in your power, live in your peace, and know that I love you. And thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you on the flip side. Okay, bye.